Okay, hello again. I want to apologize because they're doing construction right across from my building, so that might be loud. Trust me, it was quite annoying when I got woken up this morning. I feel like they should have some sort of a law that you can't do construction by student housing before like a certain hour, but whatever. Okay, so today this week, I thought that I would answer a few questions that I have gotten from people, which by the way, thank you for watching. It's exciting. So I'm going to answer a few questions, and then like I said, I want to start doing like a more organized set of videos. So next week I'm going to officially start that. So I'll start from the beginning, like, you know, what made me decide to go to law school, stuff like that. Okay, so I have 3 questions that I'm going to answer today. And then I have more good news. I'll just give you the good news at the beginning. Okay, so I got the internship that I interviewed for. So that was fast. In the last video I said I had an interview. And apparently the interview went well because I got a job offer on Monday morning. I woke up to an email. So I'm so excited. It's such a relief to have one, you know, and it's one that I really want. So it's not like it's just text message. It's not like it's just a fallback. It's actually genuinely a really great one. So if I take this internship, which I'm like 90% sure I'm going to, I will be moving out of state for the summer. So that's exciting. Also a little bit stressful though, because just figuring out like how I'm going to keep this apartment and all that, but things work out. So speaking of that, I will move on to my first question, which is whether I live alone and if I think living alone or living with people is better for law school. So I do live alone. I live in a studio apartment. It's technically campus housing, but it's not like a dorm. I mean, I can have alcohol, I can have people over. They are just a little bit like more strict. You have to show your ID when you come in the building and things like that, which I love because I feel a lot safer. And then sign in people that don't live here. So it's great. I don't even have to cross a street to get to my school. That's even better. But okay, so I live alone. And I have lived in pretty much every sort of arrangement you can think of. In college, I lived, at one point I lived in this like communal house type thing, ended up finding out I was living with a prostitute. That was very interesting. So then I moved out of there and I ended up in a sorority, which was not something I ever thought that I would do, but it was great. It was, I felt a lot safer there, and just really nice to have like a lot of people around. Anytime you wanted to talk, there was someone there. Anytime you had a question about some class, then probably one of the girls was in it with you. So that was nice. And then at the end of college, I lived with a boyfriend. So I've experienced kind of like every setup, but one thing I hadn't experienced was living alone. So I was kind of nervous about it, but I absolutely love it. Like, I can't even imagine living with anybody else again. I've become, I don't want to say selfish, but I've like just really embraced having my own space and having control over it because I'm super organized and I'm a light sleeper, 2 qualities that I don't think make a good roommate. So it's just been so nice to have my own space. You know, at the end of the day, I come home, nothing has changed since I left, you know, that's the best part. And it's just comfortable. And as far as connecting that to law school, I think it's essential to have a place that that you can go to at the end of a stressful day and can be like a haven for comfort. It's so important that you don't live somewhere stressful. So whether you decide to live alone or with people, just make sure you keep that in mind, that home needs to be somewhere where you can sleep. I mean, if you're not getting good sleep, you're not going to be, you know, studying well, you're not going to be paying attention in class. And so if you're choosing your roommates, I've heard from a lot of people that choosing other law school roommates is really smart because they know what you're going through and they can relate. They're probably not going to be loud or crazy or anything like that. And then I've heard from other people who have said the opposite, like they don't want to live with law students because when they go home at the end of the day, they don't want to feel like they're still at law school. So that's understandable too. it depends on your personality. I will be the first to admit I'm a control freak, and so living alone was probably the best choice for me, especially during like such a stressful time in my life. I feel like I have control over my surroundings, and it's just comfortable and nice here. So just, yeah, think about that. But if you're a more social person, you probably want to have a roommate, because it's few times, but there are times when I'm sitting here alone and I'm like, I wish there was someone here to talk to. But it's nice that I don't have to do their dishes, you know. Oh, a couple of cons of living alone are I can't zip up dresses by myself sometimes. That's kind of a bummer. And, oh shoot, I thought of another one earlier and now I can't think of it. I don't know. I guess just splitting chores and stuff, you know. I have to do everything by myself, obviously. Okay, so moving on to the second question, which is what I do for fun. I do have some extra time, which is going to relate to the third and last question, but not a lot of it. So mostly at the end of the day, if I do have some free time, it's like this pull between wanting to go out and, you know, get crazy because I don't get to do it ever, and then on the other hand, wanting to just veg in front of the TV or sleep because I don't get to do that often either. Honestly, I usually choose the latter because it's cheaper, and I usually need to catch up on sleep anyways. So, anyways, things I like to do for fun. I am really into writing, although that's gone a little bit by the wayside because legal writing and like creative writing are just so different. So it's hard for me to like switch that off to write. But I journal a lot. Also, I am really into music. I always love finding like new bands. I'm always on the search for that. I'm really into movies and TV shows. I have way too many TV shows that I keep up with. And let's see what else. And basically, like when my friends and I go out, we just go to, you know, dive bars or the new burger spot or whatever. I luckily live in a city with a lot of great food, so it seems like there's a new restaurant or something every weekend. So we do a lot of that. Breweries, things like that. Parks when it's nicer, which it hasn't been. Yeah, so there's that. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I'm the photographer of my group, but that's mainly just social stuff, not really scenery. Yeah, so those are things I do. And moving on to the third question, which is time management, which is incredibly important in law school. Okay, here's the thing. I think it's incredibly important to manage your time well, and that can mean different things for different people. I take it to the extreme and I make lists for just about anything. In fact, I just went to the farmer's market today and I had like a list of things I needed from the farmer's market. It helps me keep everything separated in my head so I don't freak out, you know? So this is just like an example. This is kind of old, but this is an example of a reading list that I make for myself every week, because say a professor gives you like 150 pages of reading for that week. You might be the type of person that wants to sit down and do 150 pages of reading the day before class, but I am not that person. I would rather do like, at most, like 25 pages a day. And that's just because I stop concentrating at a certain point, which is annoying, but it's true. So I break it up into little pieces, and then it feels good to check it off. And another thing that's great about that is if at the beginning of the week I break up all my reading into these pieces by the day, then say say one day I get done with my reading in 3 hours. I don't have to feel bad about doing something fun after that because I got the reading done that I had set for myself, and I know that I will get the rest done based on the list. Whereas some people feel like if they don't study from 8 a.m. to 11 p.m., then they're not being a good student. And I mean, you have to have time for yourself or else you will go crazy. So that is my trick for that. And then another trick that I have that sometimes doesn't work out, but you gotta try, is I try to be done with reading by a certain time at night so that I can have like a buffer before I go to sleep. Because if I am thinking about law school stuff like up until bedtime, it'll often keep me from sleeping well. because I'll just be stressed about stuff. So in the past, my cutoff was like around dinner time, which sounds great. I know it was, but that was when I had earlier classes. Like my latest class ended um, at like 3:30 or 4:40, and now this semester I think there's 2 or 3 days a week where class doesn't get out until 6:50. So obviously on those days I'm not done before dinner time. So I just kind of make sure I'm done by like 9 or something so that I can watch a movie or do something else before I go to bed. What else? Right. Okay. So that's my list making, and what I do to make sure that law is out of my head before I try to fall asleep is I have pleasure reading during the semester, and people think I'm crazy for being able to read anything else besides law books during the semester. But I got to be honest with you, I usually only read like a book in a semester, which, I mean, that's crazy compared to, like, I used to finish books in like a week, you know, in undergrad when I actually had the time. So now I usually just read like a chapter, if I can, a night, and it just gets the law out of my brain and I can sleep. So right now I'm actually reading 2 books. I'm reading this book. It's called The Wind-Up Bird Chronicle. It's really good. So this is my fiction. And I've been reading this since last semester, so it's not going very quickly. It's good though. And then I am reading this, Mark Twain's autobiography, for my nonfiction. And it is quite an ambitious thing to have taken on during the semester, but it's so interesting. And luckily it's broken up into pretty small chunks, so it's not difficult to just read a little bit and then go to sleep. So yeah, those are the things that I do as far as just keeping sane and managing my time. So next week, like I said, I will start with a little bit from the beginning, let you know why I decided to take on this crazy feat, and maybe I'll have more information about my summer out of state. I'm so excited. Oh, and if anybody has any suggestions about like what they've done for the summer, subletting, things like that, I would appreciate that, because I'll be in a new city and I won't really know anybody. So yeah, hope everyone has a good week.